Thank you, Edward, and I'm going to speak until I get too hot. I just put on my jacket. But thank you. It's great to be here in the Inland Empire. Fontana is also usually my second home, where I stay when I come down here. Great to see the mayor. And actually, she introduced me to Edward and said, you need to meet Edward. He is a mover and a shaker, and everybody that's, involved with his projects are doing amazing things. They want things to happen. I met Eddie. We're going to do financial literacy webinars, to try to get our young people on track. So I am the state treasurer. People want to know what the state treasurer does. I am the state's banker. So all of the revenues come into my office. Last year, it was $3.2 trillion. We are the fifth largest economy. 3.2 trillion is equal to 15% of the US's gross domestic product. So very, very proud of it. I also manage the state's idle funds and the funds for 23 local government units, probably all of your cities here. That balance is $248 billion as of yesterday. I also issue all the bonds for the state of California, general obligation, revenue, as well as for the UC and the CSUs. And even during the pandemic, we continued to issue bonds to keep people working. That's why you saw a lot of construction out on your highways, your freeways, your roads, bridges, and that's because my office was working every single day. Because if the bank closes, the whole state shuts down. So I had 100 people that came in diligently every single day. We balanced to 6 decimal points. I'm very proud of it because as an accountant, as a CPA, I love numbers and I love money. So this is a great job for me. I also chair 15 boards, commissions, and authorities that funds and finances affordable housing, schools, hospitals, children's hospitals, public transportation, green energy, advanced manufacturing. I oversee 3 savings programs, Scholarship 529, Cal Savers, and Cal Able. And I sit on a dozen other committees, CalPERS, CalSTRS, California Earthquake Authority, California Housing Finance Authority, the iBank, et cetera. Then I served for 6 years in the State Assembly as the Majority Whip and Speaker Pro Tem during my 6 years, and then was termed out. And prior to that, I served on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors for 4 years. So this is my 4th elected position. I've been on the ballot 19 times. I haven't lost a race. And I did much better in the Inland Empire thanks to Edward and Aki and National Corps, Jeff Burham, Lorraine, Denise, all of my friends out here. So thank you. So I think all of you know that on March 4th, 2020, we got the executive order that we were going to be shut down for COVID. I remember that date because that was my birthday, March 4th. So that is going to be forever ingrained in my brain. I think like all of you, all of us were in panic mode, not really sure what tomorrow was going to bring, how long it was going to last. And lo and behold, the following year, we had a surplus of about $43 billion. And you think about it and you go, how do we have a surplus when we were locked down for an entire year? Well, income taxes, people were still making money, capital gains. A lot of the tech companies especially still were offering bonuses and IPOs, and we were all still buying online, which created additional sales taxes here in the state of California. Whereas normally people leave the state, they travel, right? They take their money with them. Everyone was spending money here in the state, and that's why we had about a $46 billion surplus in year 1. Then this year, we were like, we're still locked down. Lo and behold, we have a $97 billion surplus. And again, right, revenues are good, sales taxes, capital gains. I think Christopher is going to maybe give you the doom and gloom, so I'm going to give you the happy news. But we have, the governor did pass a budget. It's going to be signed and effective on July 1st, on Friday. It's going to show a $300 billion budget. reserves of $37 billion, and like I mentioned, a surplus of $97 billion. Now, people say, well, why don't you give me back all the money? We need the money back. Well, we have something called the GAN limit in California. So when revenues pass a certain threshold, it's a complicated calculation, 40% of that surplus automatically goes to our schools, K through 12. So that leaves about $50 billion. Then in order to get under the GAN limit, we can put money back into infrastructure projects. We can give it out through an executive order through the governor, and you've seen him make a couple of executive orders, and we can rebate and refund the money. So in October, most people, 92% of the people in California are going to see some sort of rebate from $200 up to a maximum of $1,030. It's on a sliding scale, depending if you're single, if you're married, and if you have at least one dependent will decide how much money you're going to give. Now, Lorraine told me some good news that like National Corps for their training center, they were able to get X millions of dollars. We've been working with the Coachella Valley, the Catalyst Fund, and they got $15 million in the budget. So a lot of the projects that have been looking for infrastructure money for many years are going to see some sort of Christmas miracle, right? And we're just going to have to see how long that lasts. But my message right now is happy that we're all open. We all want to get back to business. We have a strong entrepreneurial spirit here in the state of California, especially in this region. You don't want to sit home and just collect, an unemployment check. You want to be able to work. And that is what I am here to do, to try to incentivize everybody. We are going to roll out more programs from the federal stimulus funds. We received $27 billion in COVID relief money. We haven't rolled it all out. We are rolling it out in different tranches. Right now, there are micro grants available up to $10,000. And any day now, we are going to roll out more money for nonprofit organizations in the performing arts arena. So dinner, theaters, comedy, dance, music, anybody that was affected and shuttered, that program is going to roll out. But it is on a first come, first served basis. So I encourage you to go to the Cal OSBA website. That's our California Office of Small Business Advocate, calosba.ca.gov. And that has all of the programs that the state is offering. And so get prepared, because when the program is open, sometimes it's first come, first serve, and by the time you hear about it in a press release or on the news, it's already gone, right? So that's what I've been doing the last 2.5 years, doing 300 webinars, is just letting the community know this is coming, be prepared, help is on the way. But we know that there are many other residents in different industries that still need help. Reach out to your assembly member, your senator, the governor, myself. Let us know what gaps that we still have, because we still have to roll out that $27 billion. And if we don't hear from you, you may not have access to it. So that is my message right now, that help is on the way. Our economy is doing better. Everybody is back at work. Continue what you're doing. And please feel free to reach out to me if I can be of assistance. I have one team member, Catherine Asprey. All she does is answer my email, askfiona@sto.ca.gov. If you don't get an answer from her, you can text me. But she is very, very diligent. She answers all the emails, the phone calls, the text messages, and we just really want to make sure that we are solving any obstacles, barriers, or issues that you are facing here in the state of California. So thank you all for all you're doing to keep California as the 5th largest economy, thank you very much, and I guess it's up to Chris to give the second part. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Treasurer Ma. Appreciate it. We're gonna go to San Bernardino County CEO, Mr. Leonard Hernandez, is going to give you all a brief update and some highlights about San Bernardino County. Welcome, Leonard.
Hey. Thanks so much. Great to be here with you tonight. So we're starting with overcoming the pandemic. The reason I wanted to start with that is because not only am I just so thankful for all the partners that helped us in this county serve our population, serve our public, but because it really showed us that if we want to do big things here, and we can do amazing things here, we have a history of that, we got to work together, we got to come together, and we have to focus on what's important. And so, looking at seeing some of the accomplishments the county did with lots of support from our teachers, our first responders, our cities, lots of communication, what's going on, why this, why that, and us working with the state. We brought the first vaccination, the IE was at our hospital. We were recognized for our dashboard and all that communication, statistics and all of that was so important for folks to understand where's the positivity rates and should I go out, shouldn't I go out, should I go to Joshua Tree? No, just kidding. So that's part of what we were just so proud of, but we couldn't do it alone. And what we really saw as a working dynamic was a process of communication and interaction really helps solve a lot of bureaucratic hurdles that then just get in our way. We pressed in to reopen and for local controls. Very excited to be working for a board that stood up and advocated for our local population, local economy. And then, there's the cautious monitoring. I hope with this presentation that nothing bad happens. So this is such a juxtapose to 10 years ago when we were in the Great Recession. And so there's a focus on us retooling internally county government so that we're ready to seize the opportunities that all this funding allows us to seize. And it's a process of building internally so that we can actually reach those goals, achieve great things. We're fortunate to be in a county that has had amazing financial stewardship. So we're entering, I think in the next year or two, we'll, as a county, have practically zero debt. Some retirement debt payoffs is the last thing, but to think about that in consideration to where other counties are at, and we don't want to be disparaging, but it's just, I can't boast about that besides be grateful that we have had a board and former boards who have made the hard decisions to say, let's do it right. Let's be fiscally responsible so that we can be poised to make investments. And that's really, I think, what the name of the game is right now is what can we do strategically? There's lots of funding coming down. We are very thankful for our partners at the state. The support is phenomenal. We just a little side note of thanks for all those who came out to be with us as a county as we we recognized and honored the victims of our terrorist attack. And it was just so touching to see so many folks from the state and from all of our municipalities there helping us walk through that with the survivors and the victims' families as we grieved that. And so what we look at is strategic investments, addressing community concerns, looking at how do we invest in our unincorporated area. Very proud of the work that our code enforcement and our sheriff is doing. Sheriff Shannon Dykes is doing a phenomenal job working with the illegal grows up in the high desert area, which is really impacting the quality of life. Operation Hammer Strike, what an appropriate name, to bring a level of community order and bring the peace back to the desert, and really encourage folks to, if they're going to get in that business, to do it the right way. Investing in community amenities, regional and special districts transformations, lots of opportunities to partner, and understanding that it takes the seeds today to see those things blossom. I'm going to go quick because some of you are getting heat fatigue. I can see it. Your eyes are getting a little bit heavy there. So building community infrastructure, septic to sewer projects, it's really the catalyst for economic growth. It's a catalyst for working with our cities to partner in annexing certain areas, setting the basis for that. I think we have a real opportunity to do that now because there's dollars from the feds, from the state, that will allow us to make some of those key investments. And then looking for innovation. As a county, we have to innovate. And that's not always easy in a large organization. Someone, as I was getting here, they said, oh, you're the CEO. And I was like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. And then someone said, where is he? He said, that's a big deal. He said, it's the largest geographic county in the United States. And I was like, get me all hyped up. I was like, man, where were you when I was taking the job? You got me all pumped to do this. And it is a big deal. We have such a platform here in this county. There you are, right there. Talk to that guy. There you go. There's the plug. So we have such a platform in this county because if we can do it here in the large geographic area with all of our challenges and the fact that we are bigger than several states and our population is bigger than those different contexts, but if we can do something here, it's such a model, not only in the state but in the nation. And going back to the first slide about the pandemic, I really believe that what signs of success look like is when we're able to work together to help a city with a septic project, with their reclamation plant, so that they can get moving in the areas of development. And as we work together from a staff side, we are really, really, I think, blessed and fortunate to have a board that is thinking that way, that wants to make that investment. And so finally here, first signs of success. This is a little internal thing that we did. So we worked with the City of Ontario, wonderful partners, with bringing Topgolf to one of our regional parks. And when we started, they were 5 months ahead with El Segundo. And so, number 2 in Southern California just doesn't sound the same. And we really didn't have that on the horizon. But when working with them, they came back to us and said, hey, look, because of your partnership with the city, because of how well you work together, we not only overcame the 5-month lead that El Segundo had, but we opened like 7 or 8 months earlier than that facility opened. And for me, that's just a testament that when we as government work well together, when we have relationships, that's why sweating together under this tent is so important, because it's a bonding experience, right? We'll smell each other. We'll get to know each other a little bit more. I gave someone a hug, and I felt bad because my armpit hit them. I'm like, man, you're going to have to wash that off later. But a little glow from the CEO may go a long way in the future, right? So my point of this is saying that we have such an exciting future as a county. I don't know if Chris is going to come and pop that bubble. Maybe he won't, because I've heard him present before, and he's always so fun and optimistic. Last time I saw him, he was a super spreader. He was up at City County. He was coughing over everybody. Like that guy has swagger because he don't care. He's like, and it's just. I was in the front row just getting sprayed, going, "Teach me more, Chris. Teach me more." So lots of things we want to do. Trying to work with the county because it's such a big place, so that we have multiple open doors for folks to engage and get business done. And my commitment, I guess, to all of you is this, give you some money, yeah. That was Fiona Ma, that was before me, that was her presentation. But what we're here to do is we really want to get the big things done. I think we have a moment in history in government, if we work together and do it right, that we can get some amazing things done. And all jokes aside, the vision that the mayor of Fontana has for the homeless population is amazing. It's something that we are excited about, and it's a time for us to do big things. So thank you so much, Leonard Hernandez. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
So this is our 6th year hosting this San Bernardino County Economic Forecast in partnership with UC Riverside Center for Forecasting and Economic Development. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Christopher Thornbert to the stage.
I do take a little umbrage at the super spreader rumor there. I'll have you know, I had my COVID bout, and that was a normal disease I was spreading across the population at that event, and it was a great event. We had a lot of good things to say. Today, I'm not doing the San Bernardino thing. I have Tanner Osman, my regional economist at UC Riverside, who will be presenting the local data. I'm here to give you the big picture. And Fiona's Fiona says, so what are you going to talk about? I'm like, you don't want to know this yet. just wait. Let me dive into it. But first, before I get into my Dr. Doom outfit and tell you the bad news, let me tell you what's not the bad news, which is this nonsense, right? You've all seen the headlines. We're going to have an economic hurricane. Consumer confidence is plummeting. Housing market in a full-blown correction. Stocks are in the bear market. According to the Wall Street Journal, the economists give this about a 40% chance of a recession in the next 12 months. It is becoming a watchword, right? It's almost becoming one of those things. Now, to be just take a step back for a second. If you look at the names of these people who are telling you this bad news, it's the same people who 2 years ago told us it was going to be a Great Depression because we had a pandemic, which was entirely preposterous, ridiculous, nonsensical, I would go so far as to say. But that was the word on the street. And to be clear, a lot of them were exactly the same people who were part of the 80% of economists who said we were going to have a recession in the next 2 years in January 2019. Now, by the way, that was pre-COVID, right? Back then it was the Chinese trade war, or it was the fact that interest rates had hit 5%, or it was the boogeyman under your bed and the thing that scares you in the dark. It's like, what are you talking about? It's the same nonsense. You remember this? Miserableism, right? This constant need to tell everybody how constantly terrible, tragic, awful everything is all the time. Well, now I've changed that term, by the way. And now it's beware the narrative, which is a different, but let me explain my reasoning here. You know, I was perplexed any number of years about this gap between what I was seeing in the data and what I kept reading about in the newspaper. And I called that miserableism, which was a great punchline, but it reflected a real problem in my head because this isn't how I was taught how this world is supposed to work. What's going wrong here? Well, you know, about a year and a half ago, Robert Shiller wrote a book called Narrative Economics. And, you know, he has a Nobel Prize. I haven't gotten mine yet. But you know, someday. The key here, though, is he just points something out, which is economists have this sort of shtick about ignoring the narrative. And it kind of makes sense because in the world of the rational human being, the data, by definition, must drive the narrative. Pay attention to the data, and the narrative is just noise. But let's face something a little fundamental here. We've had data 100 years, maybe 200 on the outside. We've had narratives since the dawn of civilization. Narratives are far more an acute part of our psyche, of our awareness, of our context than data is. And by the way, history is littered with episodes where the narrative and reality became dangerously off base. I mean, the history of economic cycles, of financial booms and busts, are typically about broken narratives. For example, Bitcoin has value. There's a bizarre narrative. There are some people not laughing here. Apparently you didn't get the memo on that. My apologies. Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But then you start to realize that you have to pay attention to the narrative. And let me tell you what's the scariest narrative of all right now. That's this one. This is the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey. Just focus on it. It's currently as low as it was in the middle of the Great Recession, okay? People are hurting. They're angry. They're pissed off. But wait till I get into some of this data, and you start to realize that people have no right to be pissed off and angry. And that's the scariest part of the conversation. It's the problems we're creating for ourselves because of the fact that we continue in this preposterous national pity party of miserableism. And it's, you know, a few years ago was a good punchline. It's a great word, right? Now it's economically very, very dangerous. And by the way, we've seen this play out. You know, what I've realized more and more is being an economist, being a forecaster, is really about being a historian. Right now I'm reading everything I can on the 70s, and you might want to too. Now, with all that in mind, let's just jump right into it. What the hell is happening? It boils down to two things. First, the myth of the fragile economy. Over the last decade, we convinced ourselves that 70% of Americans were starving on their feet, living hand to mouth, one paycheck from living in the streets, despite the fact, of course, that all the data showed us that we are still the biggest pack of brats on the planet. All right? Now, when the, of course, pandemic hit, all that angst got turned into those preposterous predictions of depression. And that turned into one of the most violent overreactions of public policy one could possibly imagine. $7 trillion in fiscal stimulus thrown at this economy. $7 trillion. In the last 5 years, on our behalf, our federal government has borrowed $30,000 for every single human being in this country and thrown it at this economy. The Federal Reserve, they've been pumping the bellows, boy. Who's been buying all that debt? Well, largely the Federal Reserve, because over the last 2 years, they purchased $5 trillion of bonds